I think the Bears were more the most interesting one. It's funny because we were talking last week about how Dave Gettleman has nenever traded back in a draft, and here
Yep.
he is trading back and gets another first rounder in 2022. So if Daniel Jones ends up not being the guy, they'll have two first rounders, and who knows what you can do with that. But for the Bears in particular, and we'll get to this deeper in just a second here, BT. This was kind of necessary because didn't you feel the energy in Chicago?
Yes.
Just like, ugh. We got Andy Dalton.
Yes.
And I like Andy. He's a good guy. I really do. I'm being sincere.
Yeah.
Liking Andy. But he's not their future, and he's not their solution for what has ailed them over the last couple of years. And so by moving up to get Justin Fields, who moderately fell, but not really, it's probably about where he should have gone, just like with Mac Jones. Mac Jones went at 15, 3 weeks ago, BT. That's where we said he should be drafted, right? We got enamored with the noise, put that in quotes, that he was going to go third overall, even though that was refuted by Kyle Shanahan, which we'll also get to.
Now, he took us on a wild ride, Kyle Shanahan. Very unnecessarily.
Wild. All week he did.
That's what I'm saying.
And then even yesterday he did as well about Jimmy Garoppolo. But I think the Bears did exactly what they had to do. It is also very risky, BT, because this is the second time in 5 years that Ryan Pace has traded up to get a quarterback Mitch Trubisky was much more of a project than Justin Fields is, but Justin Fields is not a guarantee, obviously, either, just like any of these rookies are.
None of them are. You talk about the bus rate, something you and I have hit on for a long time. And I was doing a deeper dive this morning about, as much as everybody's energized today, I'll hit you guys with this a little bit later on, but the amount of first-round picks the last 4 years that have actually gone to the Pro Bowl, probably not all Pro Bowl, probably not nearly as plentiful as some people would think. So, I know we tend to overreact to the first round. I mean, listen, I can make a case. Of course, Trevor Lawrence should be great. I don't really love what the Jaguars did with their second first-round pick.
No, I like Travis Etienne.
I love Travis Etienne. I don't know that you really need to pick him there.
Not right there.
No, not when you had Robinson, and not when you have gaping holes on defense. So listen, the challenge on a day like this, and we're mindful of it, so we'll get right into the Niners now. But the only challenge, because there'll be no lack of passion, direction, or solid takes on what went down last night on the show. The only challenge for us is to make sure that we hit everything, or hit as much as we can. So let's get into the Niners, all right? I want to give my partner a ton of credit, even though you may have wiggled off the hook a little bit yesterday with your Mac Lance, your late assertion. But this guy's been saying for a month that you really thought that the 49ers would take Trey Lance. That was your position. You got it right. My position was there's no way in heck I could take Mac Jones at 3. I was more Justin Fields.
Yep.
So if you listen to the show, both sides from two very different directions telling you the Niners weren't going to take Mac Jones.
Yeah, except don't forget what we said yesterday about Mac Jones going 3. If that was only because of listening to all the noise.
Well, I know.
Here's the thing. When they traded up, from where were they? They were
12.
12 to trade up from 12 to 3. You knew they were doing it for bold reasons. You don't make that bold of a move to go take a guy that probably would have fallen to you like Mac Jones did. He fell to 15 at 12. And so you knew that it was either Trey Lance or Justin Fields. At least that was my initial thought. I obviously came off of it, but that was my initial thought. Like, why make a bold move for a guy that you could get if you just stayed right where you were? But this is also risky. I mean, we'll get to the Bears being risky with Justin Fields because it's the second time they've done this in the last 5 years, trade up for a first-round quarterback. But with Trey Lance, he played 17 games in a small conference against inferior opponents. Yes, he's very intelligent, and his coach, we had on actually.
Yeah, we did.
A couple weeks ago, talked about how smart he is and how, like, as the seasons would go on, he was changing plays at the line of scrimmage, getting him in the perfect position to be successful. And so that speaks to a football IQ. But playing in the Missouri Valley Conference is significantly different than playing in the NFL, where things are going to be changing by the second. You put your head down to take the snap, you look up, and it's something different. So being able to process is a unique skill. He might have, but I can't say without a doubt he's going to develop that in the NFL. So this is risky for the 49ers. BT.
Big time.
Big time. You move up that much, give up a 2021, 2022, and other picks for your future to get a kid that might not make it. That can cost you your job if you're John Lynch or Kyle Shanahan, even though I don't think it will, but it could at some point if it fails miserably. Isn't it crazy how copycatish? I mean, it's a cliche. We said, oh, the NFL is a copycat league. One team has success, everybody else will do it. All these teams are literally copying the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to go draft a kid, whether everybody knows about him or not, but we know he's not ready to play. We're going to make sure that we have a good veteran there, maybe not a superstar, but a good veteran, Alex Smith, for Patrick Mahomes, as we all remember. Let him play for a year, let him compete, let him learn. Eventually, he's going to take over, and the world takes off. The same thing is happening with the Chicago Bears. Obviously, Andy Dalton is there in front of Justin Fields, and to be honest with you, Cam Newton with Mac Jones in New England. So all of the first-round quarterbacks have, I'll put it in, the mentor.
Not all of them.
Guy.
Zach Wilson doesn't have that yet. Not all of them.
True. But most of them.
And they better get him one.
Well, maybe that's the flaw that you're talking about, the Jets. Maybe that's the one flaw with the pick.
I think they'll rectify that.
I hope so, because
I
I would hate to see that kid have to go in and play right away with the enthusiasm and vigor that he took the stage with last night.
He was pumped up.
Just getting massacred.
Slappy. He was pumped. It's my guy. Zach.
But yeah, I agree with you, BT. I 100% buy what Kyle Shanahan is saying, and I think John Lynch is right on the same page. And to be honest, it's refreshing, right? It's refreshing to hear a head coach just tell it exactly how it is. We really like Jimmy G. He played a year, took us to a Super Bowl, but he's not our future. Yep. And this kid that we drafted in Trey Lance, we hope is our future. Jimmy's got to be there if we want to win in 2021, because we know if we throw Trey Lance in there after playing in a small conference in a small school against inferior opponents into the NFL right now, he's going to be lost. And so I love the honesty of the San Francisco 49ers, and I think it's going to make this a little bit easier for everybody, even Jimmy Garoppolo, who probably wants to be elsewhere at this point, but he's not going anywhere, I'm sure.
The only way it's a problem, and it's really not a problem if this is the case, but maybe a bit of an issue for Jimmy, is if Trey Lance is far more refined than we anticipate.
Good point.
Like if Trey Lance shows up and Trey Lance is, flinging daggers and
he's look easy.
He's processing at a speed that we all anticipate eventually he will process based on his intellect. Again, Tiki mentioned we had his coach on the other day. Great interview. Go find it, Odyssey.com. Just type in Tiki and Tierney. It was great. Then that would present maybe an issue for Jimmy. It wouldn't present an issue for the Niners. It would just reinforce the notion that they picked the right guy.
Chicago Bears, who are in a similar situation, they need to find a quarterback for their future. Andy Dalton doesn't have the history like Jimmy Garoppolo does, but he does have a history of success, especially in Cincinnati, getting to the postseason. We know he never won, but that's a confluence of differing factions every year that made that happen. But he is there, and he is going to be, I think, a good mentor for Justin Fields. Justin Fields has a lot of work to do, I think, to get up to snuff in the NFL. But he's an exciting prospect. He's big. He's athletic. He can change the nature of a game simply because of his athleticism and his playmaking ability. It's the X's and O's and decision making under stress, which obviously happens frequently in the NFL, that you worry about. And I think by having Andy Dalton there, as bad of a move as it felt, I don't know, 2 months ago when everybody was excited, QB1, right? Remember that whole thing?
Of course,
QB1.
They put out a tweet.
Oh, that's not exciting, but you know what? It serves the purpose since they got their guy. Now, I don't know if they were targeting Justin Fields, right? How they got him, right? I doubt that they were. At some point we're going to trade up and we're going to get Justin Fields because he's going to fall. Maybe if he gets to this point, we're going to make a move to try to get him. I don't know if they had that exact plan in place, because I think the Giants kind of helped them out a lot after they got jumped by the Eagles, who were consorting with the Cowboys.
How about that?
It's a little incestuous.
Teaming up on the G-men.
Right, to knock down the G-men. It happened quickly, though. And so I have to give Ryan Pace credit. As much as we've maligned maligned him over the last few years because of the Mitch Trubisky trade up to 2, which obviously didn't pan out. You have to give him credit for going and getting a guy who I think the Chicago fan base is going to be jazzed about and jacked up about and can't wait to see him play, whether it's at some point this year or in the next couple of years.
You know, you talk about that Dalton tweet, right? And I mean, to me, it was never meant, when they put that out there, it was never meant to fire anybody up. I mean, the Bears can't be that dumb.
Why do it?
Well, you know what it was? I'll tell you what, I think it was just a stabilizing tweet. I think that's what it was. No, there's nobody who watches football that's going to get excited over Andy Dalton at this point. Nobody. But, and you just talked about his history, you know, and again, by the way, no playoff wins. That's one thing, but sometimes when you take a team to the playoffs, certain franchises, that almost is going to sound odd, but that almost carries as much weight as winning a playoff game.
No, I don't disagree.
I mean, their football history before that was reprehensible. So, you know, Coach Lewis, obviously Dalton, their receivers, their play. I mean, everybody deserves credit there. Andy Dalton now, he'll process it the right way because he's a pro's pro. But unlike the situation in San Francisco, where this is Jimmy G's football for the foreseeable future, I do believe if Fields comes out and he shows, you know, what they're hoping he shows, that Dalton could go to the bench early. That's my thought. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell to be notified when we drop fresh content.